What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Propels Talk. We got Shamit Dua again on the show. We're going to dive into the Zion extension and how this day started out so beautifully with Shams reporting the near agreement for Zion Williamson. We're also going to talk into the Kevin Durant trade sweepstakes. Do the Pelicans actually have a chance once again of landing Kevin Durant, and why the Pelicans have the best offer out of all the teams to land Kevin Durant? So let's get in the show.
Took away. Gas for this. Get your money's worth out.
All right, presented by Company Burger and DraftKings. Shamit on this beautiful Friday night. Zion Williamson started off this morning with a bang, saying that there was a near agreement with Zion Williamson. Shams posted it out today. Give me your thoughts on that.
So Justin, I'm gonna pull a wind horse here. Do the little memes thing, whatever he was doing. When a guy agrees to $231 million, what typically happens after that?
I mean, do I have to actually answer it or no?
No, they tweet about it, right?
Right.
They say something like "I'm here," and then their teammates tweet about it, and the team tweets about it, and other people tweet about it. Why haven't people tweeted about it? I mean, the closest we got was Larry Nance tweeting at Perk, right?
Right.
That's about what we got. But why hasn't Zion come forth and said, "I'm here to stay. This is what it's happened." Well, part of it is they're nearing agreement, right? So it's not signed, sealed, and delivered. They're nearing agreement, and they were going to walk through a number of protections or whatever. But the contract is 5 years, and then whatever injury inclusions are done in that. But they were nearing agreement. What the hell does that mean?
That means that nothing's really official, is what I mean. If you're asking me my opinion, that doesn't mean anything is actually official yet. So what is that, to your point, what does that mean?
It means to me the negotiation isn't quite done, and it's not so simple.
Explain.
I think that there is a very, very good player out there in the name of Kevin Durant who, once Zion signs his deal, becomes pretty difficult to trade for.
Are you saying what I think you're saying, or is there a possibility that Zion Williamson hasn't signed because of Kevin Durant?
I think, in all honesty, and jokes aside, I don't think that's why Zion hasn't signed. I think they're genuinely working through the constructs of the deal.
Okay.
I think I would think that since we only really saw Shams tweet about it, we haven't seen any articles on it. We haven't seen a Woj story on it. Woj typically gets the CAA scoops. We haven't seen Lopez comment on it, Christian Clark comment on it, really, Will Guillory. None of the local guys have come out and really written. Normally this stuff is accompanied by big stories, right? We haven't seen that yet. And so because we haven't seen that yet, it's still very much going through the process of what is this going to look like in terms of protections? What is this going to look like in terms of guarantees? What is this going to look like with the all NBA structure and all of that? So I also happen to think, and this is my opinion, and it's unsourced, so I don't want people running, and tweeting
Running
about
wild.
this, that as long as the door is open on the Zion contract, the door to Kevin Durant is open as well. I genuinely believe that. I think we talked about it yesterday when we said, what does it take to get Kevin Durant? And I said, Brooklyn's going to come asking for Zion. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
And him signing the deal makes, Ben Simmons already has a designated player language in his contract. Zion would get it, and those things would be illegal unless you trade Ben Simmons. And then I need to double check because designated veteran max contract players cannot be traded for a year. I don't think that's the case for the designated rookie max, but I'll have to double check. So there's a possibility that just a straight up no trading for a year rule in there too. But either way, once Zion signs, that goes poof. And if you're talking about Kevin Durant, then you're looking into Brandon Ingram or some of the other stuff. And I think we are pretty much unanimously in agreement that you cannot move Brandon Ingram.
Yes.
Just because of what he means to the city and what he means to the team. And he is the example of like what you've been building towards, right?
Sure.
If you like Durant comes with a set of variables on the injury side and just the amount of attention that he garners. Do you want to have two people with similar variables in Zion and Kevin Durant and not have the steady presence like Brandon Ingram? I mean, on the basketball court, hell yeah, those guys would be incredible. Like,
right.
I think if push comes to shove, if we were playing 2K, you make the trade every single time, right? But we're not playing 2K. These guys are humans. These guys, Brandon Ingram is a human, and you have to figure out like what your team's going to look like and what you're giving up. And I think we're all in the camp of like, if you don't have to trade BI, don't do it.
If you more on the Zion thing, because I'm really interested in intrigued in it. Would you say if Zion was part of a trade package, right? Would that be the best package offered by any team in the league to the Brooklyn Nets? Because they'd probably beat Phoenix's offer. Miami's offer is probably shitless. Toronto's offer. Do the Pelicans with Zion as a trade chip have the best offer to land Kevin Durant?
I mean, I think so because look, let's talk about the Phoenix offer, right? So it's Ayton, Bridges, picks, whatever, maybe Cam, sure. The problem with that is you have to sign and trade Ayton, and Ayton wants his max. So when you sign and trade Ayton, it triggers a nice little rule called the hard cap, and it puts Brooklyn in the hard cap. Because Ayton had a pretty small salary his previous year, and he would take a big jump to his max contract, it also messes with the salary matching rules. So first of all, there's an obstacle when it comes to salary matching. But I think from a pure legality standpoint, Ayton and Bridges work, but they would need to clear a lot of space in order to fit those two players. And they also have Kyrie's $38 million on the book. So are you saying, are they going to dump Kyrie just for the sake of dumping him to a team that can absorb him? First of all, how many teams can absorb him? I think OKC's off the table. Their cap space evaporated. Is it the Spurs? Is it Detroit? Is it Orlando? I'm not sure who has like the room to outright absorb him or kind of create this. And is that what the Nets would even want to do? Could they get value? Could they, wouldn't you just send Kyrie to the Lakers and get those two picks instead of just dumping him for space, right? And I think that they're like, okay, maybe you get Westbrook back and try to dump Westbrook, but it's an obstacle, and it makes that trade package unattractive. And we've already heard reports that maybe they don't want Ayton. Maybe they want Ayton at that price point, right?
Right. I mean, that's a fair statement, but you had a tweet earlier today, Shamit. You said, well, not really necessarily earlier, maybe like an hour ago, you think, once again, unsourced and all that good stuff, is that it's between Toronto and New Orleans. Do you think Toronto's package is better than New Orleans? I'm guessing who with Toronto, they probably offer Scotty Barnes, OG. Maybe I'm missing somebody else, but do you think the Pelicans with Zion has a better package than Toronto can offer?
So, in my opinion, Zion's a more valuable commodity than anything out there.
Why?
Because you have an opportunity at a top 10 player. Scotty Barnes, as good as he is does not have top 10 player potential. OG, solid role player, someone you'd want on a contending team. On a rebuilding team, I'm not sure. Zion Williamson is box office. He sells tickets. He is the one player where you can go back and be like, yeah, I have Zion in New York. I can build around this. I can build a fan base around this. I can draw eyeballs, advertisers, national TV games, all of that stuff. No one else can offer that. And, the Brooklyn Nets owners already complaining about losing all kinds of money and having to pay a high tax bill and all of that stuff. So if those off-court things are attractive to you, nothing is better than the Zion Williamson trade offer. And then the on-court stuff, let's be real. There's not a single 21-year-old available who can score. I want to take that back. I'm not saying Zion's available, but there is not a single 21-year-old that you could potentially trade for that scores 27 points a game on 60% shooting. And so to me, that's That's pretty obvious. But Toronto, I think, has a better offer than Phoenix, and a better offer than Miami's poop platter of Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. They can't trade Bam, and KD says he wants to play with Bam and Jimmy and
Right.
Lowry. So what do they have? They don't really have attractive picks either. They would have to make a separate deal with OKC to free up some picks that they can trade later anyway. So again, obstacles. Toronto can offer Scotty Barnes, one of the best young players in the league, and lots of picks, or they can build something around Siakam. They have flexibility like the Pelicans do.
A couple more questions. If Zion was part of this deal, I've seen a lot of trade, machines and just different tweets and things like that. Is it just Zion and a couple players, or is it Zion, young players and picks? Like, what would, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but what would actually get the deal done? Like, is Zion? Is it picks? Is it a couple players? Because there was a report out there today, a young player and 3 first-round picks. You saw what Rudy Gobert went with for 4 first-round picks. So what in the hell would Kevin Durant go for? I mean, 4 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert is insanity.
It's total nuts and unprotected at that. It depends again on the competitors. It really does not depend on what Brooklyn wants. They can say, like, I want 12 picks. Great, who's going to offer you that? So what are the competitors putting on the table? I'm sure Phoenix will try to offer every pick under the sun they can, right? No pun intended.
No pun intended.
No pun intended, right? Are those picks going to be any good, right? I don't know. Do they have a young player that Brooklyn wants? I don't know. So with regards to Zion and Zion specifically, the Pelicans are in a position of strength. They don't have to make this deal, right? They don't.
Right.
They can be like, okay, cool. We have Zion nearing agreement to his contract. We're just going to walk into next season with our young core, keep all of our picks, keep our powder keg dry. Great. It was pleasure talking to you, but we don't have to do this. But if you do want to do this, it's Zion and salary filler only. Maybe you get a far off pick. Maybe you get a very protected pick, but that's it. This guy is box office. You want him. This is what it takes. If not, cool.
Kevin Durant obviously has a relationship with Willie Green in Golden State. He has a relationship with Collins, obviously, in Golden State. So there are a couple connectors there. Last question for you, Shamit. I'm just gonna ask it straight up. Do you think is Kevin Durant coming to New Orleans? Yes or no? Is that no other bullshit?
In my dreams?
No. Is he coming to New Orleans? Yes or no?
I wore Kevin Durant 6s to the press conference yesterday. I don't know if anyone noticed. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the Kevin Durant show in New Orleans. And if I had any say in it, yes. If I had any say in it, I would do the deal. Again, I've talked about this on Twitter. You do not get an opportunity to trade for one of the best players of all time. You just don't. That does not happen. And if you can do that in a way that leaves your young core intact, and what I mean is, like, if it's Zion outgoing, but you have Herb, you have Trey, you have Dyson, you have picks, I don't see how you can turn that down. I do not see how you can turn down a Kevin Durant-led team. You're replacing Jackson Hayes in the starting lineup with Kevin Durant. Are you serious? Are you serious? You're telling me I can run back the whole rotation, the playoff rotation last year, minus Devontae and minus Jackson, and replace them with Kevin Durant? Where does that team go in the playoffs last year?
Well, a lot of people ask, will KD and BI work?
They asked if Harden and Kyrie and and KD would work, and those guys were literally unstoppable on the court, and the only thing that stopped them were James Harden's injuries and Kyrie refusing to get a vaccination shot. So, like, their off-court drama and like they're them unwilling to set their egos aside blew that whole thing up. But when they played, they were unstoppable. When all of them played, I mean, they almost took down the championship Milwaukee team playing 1.5 of those guys. It was KD playing 48 minutes a game, and then maybe Kyrie would play one game, or maybe James Harden would play one game on a broken hamstring. And it's like, those guys were unbelievable. Brandon Ingram, we already know how unselfish he is. We already know how good of a passer he is. We know he can play off the ball. CJ McCollum's played off the ball his whole life. Like, CJ McCollum's played off the ball his whole life. So if I gotta, like, share the ball between those three, great. And you're coming from a place where Willie Green was on that Golden State staff, Jaron Collins was on that Golden State staff, and they fit in Kevin Durant next to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And Klay Thompson, I quote, said, "I ain't sacrificing shit." And he did it. He still got his numbers, right? So, like, if they can make it work, they've had the coaching staff has the experience of putting together high usage players that are versatile. Man, I mean, I think the possibilities are endless.
It's hard not to think about. Listen, it's all hearsay. Who knows what's really going on? The whole Zion thing, it's intriguing. I mean, listen, I'm from the city, been part of this franchise or fan of this franchise for 20 plus years, when we've never had an opportunity to get someone like Kevin Durant. And I feel like, the Heat got checked off tonight. Seems like they can't really match, they can't match anything with Brooklyn. They want Phoenix, Toronto. It's starting to become a little interesting because the Pelicans have possibly the best offer.
Just
for Brooklyn.
Look through the logical options. That's all I ask of people. Like,
would Boston be? I mean, I know they just got Brogdon. Would Boston be in that mix?
No, I mean, I think them acquiring Brogdon with a pick sort of takes their future assets out of consideration.
Clippers, Nuggets, I guess Jazz. I mean, I'm just trying to go through teams here that would Chicago. I don't know. I'm just Milwaukee. You start really being able to cross out a lot of teams as like you keep thinking about it. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But what I do know is that the Pelicans have a legitimate shot.
The one thing I want to comment on is every major platform has talked about this. ESPN has ran segments on this. Zach Lowe on his podcast has spent a considerable amount of time talking about this. Windhorst, who is nailing everything, right? Like was predicting everything correctly, has talked about this on his podcast. And that to me is legitimacy in and of itself. It's this idea that like people are not immediately dismissing and laugh. Like if any of those people talked about the Kings, they'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. Kevin Durant's going to the Kings. Just like they're already doing with Utah. Utah has 6 picks and they're like, yeah, he's not going to Utah, right? New Orleans is being taken seriously. And that, whether you get Durant or not, is something you can take away. And it's something you can also take to Zion at the end of this and be like, hey, we had an opportunity to get Kevin Durant and we are committing to you. And that, I think all of this is just positive, regardless of the outcome. It's all positive.
All right, Shamit. I mean, obviously you've been pushing the train today. It's obviously the past couple of days we've been talking about it. So something to look forward. The July 4th weekend. Once again, presented to you by DraftKings and Company Burger. Shamit Dua joining the show. And we'll see what happens. A lot of things can happen. So remember, UFC tomorrow night. If you bet $5, all new customers $5, and you use code BOOT, you can take any fighter and win $150 in free bets. Once again, DraftKings Sportsbook app, download, use code BOOT, bet on any fighter, literally win or lose. You bet $5, you win $150. Friday night, just going to work, Shamit. You don't ever sleep, man. So appreciate you joining the show.
Not when Kevin Durant's available.
Appreciate you. Right. I won't be sleeping either. So appreciate you joining the show, and hope you all have a great weekend.